Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for this opportunity to connect with you and to share some thoughts on a topic of deep interest to me, voice of the patient and voice of the process. The program, typically we call voice of the customer, employs a closed loop process to collect customers' feedback about their experiences with and expectations for our products or services. It allows us to focus attention on customer needs, expectations, understanding, and product improvements. In the pharmaceutical context, um, our products are not commodity products. These are prescription products usually, and therefore we have to think about many different aspects when we think about voice of customers, from consumer complaint, patient complaints to pharmacovigilance and other aspects. There is a significant difference between what we call hearing and what we call listening. Hearing is passive, listening is active. Similarly, we are familiar with the notion of the plan, do, check, and act cycle. So planning something and doing there is more passive. Checking and taking action with courage is more active. I wish to take you back in history to 1937, where we experienced in the US a tragedy which we call the taste of raspberries, taste of death. And the FDA calls it sulfanilamide disaster. Why does it call it sulfanilamide disaster? Why not an elixir of sulfanilamide disaster or tragedy? This incident has been written about in many different ways, and it allowed me to read the voice of a mother. All that is left to us is the caring of a little grave. When I read her words that have been recorded, do I hear her voice or am I listening to her voice? Voice of a mother. Think about that. We are born, we grow, we develop, we mature, and we die in socio-technical systems. From within these systems, we have to improve the systems. How can we do that? We have to be the change we want to see in those systems. That's the fundamental principle of continual improvement. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence is foundational. And yet, it took us 70 years to open our eyes to be able to detect officially, as part of the monograph for glycerin and propylene glycol, diethylene glycol, and that occurred in 2007. Why did it take us so long to be able to measure officially diethylene glycol in pharmaceutical formulations? Without trust and assurance of quality and safety, we and our children are the test subjects of an ongoing clinical trial then, without our consent. Who makes the medicine I give to my child is a question we today have to ask in developed and developing countries. Today, in Gambia, a red toy motorbike sits in the corner of Mariam's home, gathering dust. It was meant for her 20-month-old son, Musa, but he passed away in September. She did not have the luxury to ask and to demand who makes the medicine she gave to her child. This is a slide I used in a presentation at a USP workshop in Mumbai in 2015. And I was asking the question, why does it take 70 years to open our eyes? Remember in 2007, when the heparin tragedy was occurring in the US, by chance we detected diethylene glycol in toothpaste contamination, and that's when FDA insisted on USP incorporating into the monograph a test for diethylene glycol. That's the reason I call why did it take 70 years to open our eyes? The tragedy of diethylene glycol keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. It is an endemic situation. Why? Every pharmacist, every formulator who is educated, who is qualified to develop formulation knows this, and yet we keep repeating this mistake again and again. Some professionals continue to develop, but at different rate. Many do not. Some professionals learn to listen, but variably, many never realize it. Not developing ourselves continually, being stuck in where we were, following our certificate of training or a degree, or accepting a certificate of analysis from a vendor for the raw materials that we are going to use, does not take away our responsibility to keep expanding our orders of consciousness. In my talk to the USP workshop in 2015, I talked about several blind spots. The diethylene glycol tragedy and epidemic is just one of those. So please, if you have a moment, take a look at these slides which are available on the net to be aware of several blind spots. Working in a pharmaceutical factory or working in an R&D organization, we rarely meet the patients who will use our products. The voice of the process we use to manufacture, how stable and capable it is, communicates with patients with the assurance of quality we provide. Not only hearing, but truly listening to the voice of the patient is available to us in the voice of the process we develop, we validate, and we use for commercial manufacturing. Voice of the patient and voice of and for patients with two side-by-side presentations I sort of did on a issue with the control release product that FDA was struggling with. It's a wonderful story to go back and listen to, and not listen to, or yeah, you listen to in the words I have used in my slides. Take a look. Have you wondered what happened to the formulator, the chemist who formulated the elixir of sulfanilamide in 1937? I found this clip in the newspaper. Chemist of death, elixir is suicide. Watkins, 58, was found dead of a bullet wound through the heart at his home. His wife insisted he was killed by the accidental discharge of a pistol he had been cleaning. I wonder why through the heart? Can we listen to the sound of silence? Because he didn't speak and he didn't leave anything in writing for us to understand and make sense of how did he allow that accident or that tragedy to occur. The diethylene glycol tragedy is just a case example of many such tragedies that are occurring on a daily basis. Today, it seems the first principle in medicine, the first principle in pharmacy, first do no harm, has been thrown away. Today, it seems we are all in a perpetual clinical trial without consent. Listen to the sound of silence. I do ask the question, how many more years or decades do we have to learn to listen? Is that question relevant? I wonder. English is a very clever language. Be careful. Hear and translate in your mother tongue. Perhaps it will help to learn how to listen in making meaning of the English words you hear. I'm suggesting this video, The Sound of Silence by Disturbed, as a way to practice the difference between hearing and listening. Thank you and all the best. Assalamu alaikum.